Welcome to the Parish the Thought Show. The opinions of Brian, your host, and his guests have not been sanitized or scientifically tested, so please consume at your own risk. Now, here's Brian.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else is listening, welcome back to the program. My guests today are Robert Haddock and Teri Shelley, running for mayor also for Elk Ridge. So all of you Elk Ridgians listening, we're going to have a little chat about why they're doing what they're doing. And some of you have submitted some questions, so we'll go over those as we see fit if the time permits. So let's just jump in, kids. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, anytime. Well, how about we start? Which one do you want to flip a coin? Start. Who gets to start?
We'll start with the current mayor. It's totally fine.
All right.
Okay, the current incumbent.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian. My name's Robert Haddock. I go by Rob mostly, but I try to use my official name for running for mayor, I guess, because it sounds more official, and that's what my parents gave me. But I'll give you my whole life story, I guess. I was born in Salt Lake City, moved to Idaho, and went to BYU, working through pretty quick. I graduated in accounting. I spent 5 years as a CPA doing public accounting in eastern Idaho. Decided that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and went into corporate accounting. That's what I've done ever since. So quite a few years. Did that for 17 years before I moved to Utah. I was CFO and partner in an excavation business, and it was the largest residential excavator in Idaho at the time. And so I learned a lot about excavation. I did a lot of bidding on jobs. I purchased all the materials. I hired a lot of subcontractors. I bid a lot of jobs. And so I understand city infrastructure. That's what we did. So water, sewer, power, storm drain, roads, concrete, all those things. I was basically absorbed with for 17 years. I moved to Utah in 2017, just changed jobs. I had a good friend from college that was starting a startup and said, we're going to make millions. That didn't quite work out that way. So, but I've been with my current employer, the job that pays the bills, since 2020. So just about almost 6 years. But yeah, in that job, I build budgets, I control costs. That's what controllers are supposed to do. It's not always a perfect system, but and then I've been mayor for 4 years, which utilizes a lot of those skills that I've learned over the years.
And you want to do it again, huh?
Well, I've been happy to be done, but I feel like we've got a lot of momentum. It's a pretty good learning curve. The state regulates a lot of the things that we can do as cities, and so I think we've got some good things going, and want to continue and not drop the ball on all my friends that are helping me out.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Well, I have to ask.
Teri?
And you don't have to say it. We can talk about it after. But Eastern Idaho, where at?
Blackfoot.
Okay.
At Van Orden and Associates.
Yeah. My grandparents lived near Soda Springs, a small community called Niter.
My grandpa was born there, so yeah.
Yeah, nice.
We're probably related.
We
You guys are
probably
practically brother and sister or something, or cousins or twin cousins or something, yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's probably some lineage there that we could find, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So,
well, my name is Teri Shelley. Been in Elk Ridge my husband and I were trying to figure it out the other day. It was almost 14 years. We moved here from American Fork. I was a stay-at-home mom for the first part of our marriage, started college, didn't quite finish, wanted to be a microbiologist. That's my passion is science and technology. So, but I have my oldest is 30, My youngest is now 19. Went back to work when my youngest was about 16, full time. Worked from home for a lot of those years, and then moved into the technology side of, I did sales first, and then moved to the technology side of things. Right now, I'm a client success specialist for enterprise accounts with a focus on retention. So I get to talk with frustrated people all day long.
There's none of that in this job, is
that
there?
might qualify you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Been married for 30 years. Lived in Utah since I was 16. I am so not giving you the year because then you can do the math, but we'll just call it good at 16. Grew up mostly in eastern Wyoming and sort of lived in a small town that went from nothing really to oil field boom, huge, right? And I remember the impact that had. We started out as a small town, and then we got, really funny to say, but then there became a suburb that my mom and dad and neighbors helped incorporate into a city. So I got to be a part of that from the time I was like 10 to when we moved here. So got to see that come to fruition. They weren't quite incorporated as a city until we moved here, but the steps to take to do that, right? Being a political person was never on my agenda to do in life. It's not something that I really honestly thought about doing until this last year. The reason I'm running is it's just, I want to know the details, and I feel that the details are not forthcoming. I know as mayor, it's the executive branch, so to speak, of Elk Ridge, right? Like, we don't, legislative makes the laws, makes the ordinances, do that. The mayor enforces them. But I feel like the mayor can also be that middle ground. It can be the communication piece to help align the citizens, give the information out there, create that communication that's just so desperately needed right now.
Well, that was one of my questions was, what does a mayor do? What is the purpose of a mayor? So you kind of alluded to it, but yeah, what, just for the basic person, not the basic person, but just someone who doesn't really understand why, you're like, what's the job of a mayor?
Well, you got to shake hands and kiss babies.
Yeah. How's that work? How's that working out?
I'm pretty good at both those.
Yeah.
No, like Teri said.
And is it
like Teri said, it's administrative. So city council makes the laws. They're the ones that vote. The mayor doesn't get a vote.
Well, unless
one's missing
and you have to break a tie.
Which has happened like 3 times in the 4 years. But yeah, we're over administration, so over the office, over public works, over the fire department, EMT, just everything kind of like, administrative. But yeah, we don't have, but we're not a dictatorship. We can't just say this is how it's going to be. A lot of things are regulated by the state, and a lot of things we need city council approval.
And county too. Like, researching what I've researched, I'm like, wow,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Which, the bureaucracy, but it has to be there too, because otherwise it doesn't work either.
Yeah, but there's a lot to it. A couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with all the mayors in Utah County, and after the Charlie Kirk assassination, and it was interesting to hear all their viewpoints, but everybody's up for election, and it was interesting to say, well, we put a statement out, but let's not use his name, or let's not mention, his faith because we have Muslims in our city, and let me run it by my PR people or my assistant, and in Elk Ridge, we don't have all those layers, and we're not as political, and I think as a city, we think alike in a lot of aspects. So I think we're blessed in that regard.
Oh, I totally agree. I think the mayor is also kind of the face of Elk Ridge. Help me if I'm wrong. You represent a lot of times Elk Ridge at state events and county events. I feel like having good communication skills is probably par for the course. You have to be able to not only communicate what your city values are, but stand up for them as well. You talk about the bureaucracy, right? Like, and it does have a little bit has to be there, but a lot of times we're kind of lumped in with the Provos and the Orums and the Spanish Forks and the Mapletons. where they've got revenue base and different things and all these things that the county and state are regulating, right? It's just like, oh, well, Utah County is now this level. So everybody in Utah, well, we're not. We don't have commercial space. We don't have the retail space. We don't have those things that come into our budget that way. So it just makes it a little bit more challenging.
So we got to kind of bootstrap it because we're such a small community. Is that?
We do, yeah. Our government employees aren't government employees. They're working their tails off. They're wearing a lot of hats, and from the top down, like I said, I don't have an assistant full time. I don't have a PR person. Like that would be nice. And so we have to cover a lot of areas. I remember visiting a neighboring city's mayor, and there were engineers in another room coming out. And I'm like, asked the mayor, I'm like, hey, what are they talking about? He's like, I've got no idea. That doesn't help. That doesn't happen here. And I can see how it would happen in bigger cities. But yeah, I mean, it's more than shaking hands and kissing babies. We're in all of it. And yeah, we don't have the luxuries, to go to conferences, to yup it up on the golf course, and it's not one of those.
Oh my gosh,
positions.
I hope not, because I don't golf. That would be horrible.
Yeah.
So just because of the size, we just don't have the budgets for.
Right.
So
and we don't have the work, honestly. We sub out our engineer. We sub out our attorneys. Yeah, city planner. A lot of those jobs we sub out because we couldn't keep them busy. Not just we don't have the budget, but we don't have the work that would require those positions. Does
funding from the city, where does it all come from? Is it just the local tax base, property taxes, or does some of it come down from county?
Yeah.
How does the city get its revenue?
So we get a lot of revenue from state sales tax. Everybody says, hey, you don't have a commercial base. We need some sales tax. We get a little bit more in sales tax than we do in property tax. I believe it's pretty close to 50-50. But yeah, the state shares with us, even though we don't have commercial thing here, because it's a state sales tax. So I don't know cities that do have a big commercial base, what portion they get, but yeah, we get that. That was an eye opener. We get more in sales tax than I had imagined.
All right. You fabulous listeners, my 17 fans worldwide have submitted some questions for our lovely candidates 18. Today. 18 today. I'm growing, maybe 19 if both of you are going to follow now.
Well, and our spouses, that makes what?
Oh, that's
21?
right. That's right. I just quadrupled my.
It's going to be big, Brian. It's blowing up.
It's blowing up. I might make $7 one day from my podcast. These are some questions that people submitted, and not in any order of importance, but one of them says, "What is your vision for the proposed trail system in Elk Ridge?" And I didn't know about any trail system. I know there's one that's already here, but is there? Is it?
Where were you 2 weeks ago?
Not in the meeting, apparently. Which is why I brought you here. They brought the meeting to me.
There you go.
So, okay. So what's the yeah? Teri, go ahead.
So my vision is, look, we are a new city merging with an older city, right? And the older city people moved here for certain specific reasons. There was no trail system. There is no gutter system. There's, it was rural. They wanted to have the horse trail in their front yard and be able to go riding and have the animal rights. And then we've got the new people coming in that are, riding the river trails and going up Provo Canyon and riding that. And it's amazing. And how do we bring those together? Well, the goal of the citizens, right? I can have a vision. I can have whatever vision I want. But as an elected official, it's not just my vision I have to look at. The consensus right now is leave the older homes alone. And if you want riding trails, put them in the new ones.
Kind of like we have down here at the lower Elk Ridge, down in the hood where I live.
Really? That's where I was, because I live in the older inner city.
Is that considered inner city?
Inner
like
city.
The upper inner city?
It's funny, the terminology, right?
Yeah.
You know, I love riding. We drive to Provo Canyon with our mountain bikes and we ride the trail of Provo Canyon. It's beautiful. The river trail in Spanish Fork is really close and accessible. The county's putting us in one between, and you will know this better than I do. I just barely started researching it. But the county is putting in a trail, right? A rideable trail. Do we really need to take the rights away from our citizens who have been here for 20 years? And rights, I don't mean like the proposed thing on Facebook where they talked about taking 11 or 9 feet of property. It's more like taking away parking rights. You know, we have a master plan with trails. They showcased it at the city council meeting. Do the citizens want it? I don't know, but we need to find out. We can make whatever master plan we want. I can go home and draw one up for you tonight if you'd like, but it's not in my purview, or it's not on, I just won't put my vision out there because I don't feel like my vision really matters as one person. It has to be Elk Ridge as a whole.
Okay.
Yep.
Robert?
So last year, our planning commission updated our general plan, which is the vision for the city, and it part of it is trails, and it basically takes in every aspect of our vision, but it is general. It's not specific. And so in the general plan, it referred to a master trails plan, which would be more specific. And so because it mentioned that, the planning commission said, you know, we were given the task. We gave the task to the planning commission to generate a master trails plan. And the reason I think it's important is because if we apply for grants for trails, they're going to want to see that we have a vision and a plan. And so it's important for grants. It's also important that we create standards in our city so when new development happens, the developers know what standards we expect for the trails. And so we do cross sections, and you've been involved in building and probably have seen those on plans for, you know, cross sections for roads and sidewalks and trails and other things. So that was what we were trying to accomplish with the master trail plan. And so yeah, basically specs for new development trails and specs for mountain trails. But then they kind of kept going and started doing, well, for infill trails, we could do this or this or this. And so it created a pretty good uproar because some of those were, you know, used right away and make trails. You know, this is all future vision, and I agree with Teri. You know, people in the upper part of Elk Ridge don't want that, and the traffic doesn't really necessitate that. And so we've scaled it back as a city council and said, yeah, we just want you to focus on this. Stick to the general plan trail map. Don't create a new one. And yeah, just provide specs for new development and for mountain trails, which we didn't have before. You know, Utah as a state and MAG, which is Mountain Land Association of Governments, they made trails and funding a priority. And so there is money out there. So we will have a trail in 2 or 3 years. They're going to tile the canal right below our city and turn it into a trail, which will connect Payson, maybe even Santa Quin, all the way down to Spanish Fork, to all those network of trails. And so that's great, but, you know, we need to have a master trail plan in place so that we can apply for grants, say, yes, here's our vision, we've planned for this, and hopefully get some money. But no, it was never our intention or never our priority to tear up right away and start building trails in places they didn't need to be, where there's, yeah, maybe a car or two that'll pass you on a couple mile walk. So, but Melanie Paxton's done an amazing job. She's on the city council. She also heads our Parks and Trails Committee, and she's gone above and beyond trying to find us a path to Forebay, because one of the big complaints is, and on the survey, everybody wants to connect to Forebay. We're right here at the base of the mountain and no access to it. So she's worked with several private property owners, and we were hoping Goose Nest Park could be a trailhead and we'd be able to work around the west side of the golf course and connect that way. And she's looked at, ways up the canyon and ways up Elk Ridge Drive. And yeah, so she's gonna find us a way to Forbay or die trying. But she's pretty amazing.
Pretty tenacious.
Yeah.
Tunnel. I vote for a tunnel.
All right.
Just do a tunnel straight shot.
That should be cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just chump change, right? Okay. I think we've covered that one. This one came up a couple times, is the water, the cost of water in Elk Ridge. Why is it so high here? I came from Highland and it was like a flat fee, and I know it's a bigger city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome, but now here it's like, I get worried when my son, you're in the shower too long. Why does the water cost so much here in Elk Ridge? And I know we put that new pump system in, or the new well, a few years ago.
Right. So speaking of the survey, trails, parks, open space were high on the list, but water was right up there with it. And we didn't really specify, we kept it pretty general on the survey. So I don't know if they're saying, hey, we're worried about the availability of water, because there's been a lot of talk about drought and availability, and will we have enough to sustain growth and things. And then cost, obviously, but we didn't break it down to get those details, but I'm assuming both are a concern. We live on a mountainside, and we have 3 wells. 2 of them are the lower end of town elevation-wise. And then we have one in Loafer Canyon that's above the fault line. So the 2 are on one aquifer. The one up higher up the hill or up the canyon is in a different aquifer. And so the lower elevation wells have about 500 horsepower pumps, and they've got to pump all the water not just out of the ground but up the hill. And so electricity's become more expensive. We used to be able to meet all our needs with the canyon well when people weren't watering outdoors. It's another downside, is we just have culinary water for our homes and for irrigation. But since we are built on the side of a mountain, our lower wells, every time you start them up, our rates are based on
Usage tiers. Is that what you're talking about?
For the startup, it's based on the words escaped me, but basically all that power that it takes to start up, and we do have slow start devices on both our wells. Max usage, something like that. Our rates are based more on our maximum usage, because they have to plan for that. So these 500 horsepower wells take a lot of demand, and even though we're not doing it, several times a day, they have to work that into their system. And so that's expensive, plus inflation, cost of pipes, cost of construction, fittings, all those things factor in. One of the things we are looking at is when the upper well was drilled, the drill bit broke off in the well, and instead of saying, hey, that's your problem, dig it deeper, they left it, and so it's not as deep as was planned. And so in the winter months, we can usually do 80% just off our upper well, and gravity helps us, and so that saves costs. But SESD told us they're working on getting 3-phase power up there, so I think one of the things that would help is to dig a bigger well up there and have gravity on our side, and to upgrade that. Also, our water is tiered. We have tiered rates. The more you use, the more you pay. The first so many thousand gallons are at this rate, and then it keeps getting more. It's kind of like the IRS. And the state kind of pushed us to do that as part of a water conservancy. So use less water, and hopefully, the Biden administration didn't help us much either. They shut down a bunch of coal plants, and so now electricity is on the open market, and then we have California competing with us for our rates too. So supply and demand hasn't helped. Inflation, and the fact that a lot of cities get their waters out of springs, and they don't have the costs of pumping it out of the ground, and a lot of them are on flat areas. So so pumping uphill is an issue too. So we have several things working against us.
So if I'm understanding right, we just built a brand new well that we now have to have our citizens pay to pump up the hill. Is that what you're saying? And I know that's probably a little controversial.
Do you remember when we had 2 wells and one went down and nobody could water their yards?
Yes. Yeah. Like, what was that, 3 or 4 years ago?
That was like 2016, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, wow. 9 years ago.
This one over here on.
Right. So we have redundancy now. Yeah. And so we plan for growth and if one goes down, a lot of people don't know this, but we did have a well down this spring and it was down for 2 months and we got it back up and running in June. And nobody really noticed because we have 3 wells instead of 2.
So what's like this is to me this is what I want to look at.
This was all before my time.
Yeah.
I wasn't around when they drilled any of the wells.
So my question is, what is tied to the funds of the city? I kind of am diving deep. I've talked to some no longer elected officials that said a lot of the city budget's tied to the water. Let's take a look. Is that really feasible anymore? Is that something that we can look at the budget and go, why is this being funded by our water fees? Because if that's the case, if we can really streamline where the budget goes outside of water, then I think that we could probably reduce the rates. But like I said, I need to see the budget. I need it broken down in front of me and not in legalese and the state formatted mandate of what the budget needs to look like. I need to have the real conversations and I need to get that better understanding. But I feel like there's a lot of things that are tied into the budgetary requirements for the city that comes from water. And I think that we need to reevaluate that.
Okay.
There's a lot of allocations. We get audited every year and it's never been an issue, but we have public works employees that work on the water, so part of their wages is allocated to the water fund as an expense. Same with the city employees. Same with the equipment that we need to work on the water lines. So a lot of it's allocated between water, sewer, storm drain, roads, and so it is all broken up. And you can argue allocations all day long, but at the end of the day, we have so many expenses as a city and so much revenue as a city. So if you say, well, let's cut this water expense and put it in the general fund, well, then we've got to find something to cut or revenues to raise.
Yeah.
And so
I make it sound really simple, right?
Government accounting is anything but simple.
Oh no, it's not your typical even corporate accounting. Government accounting is very different. You can't
just buy a copy of QuickBooks and start up. No. I mean,
it's cryptic.
So when I did my CPA test, there are 4 sections. There's financial, audit, tax, and government. So government was one of the 4 sections, and it was you can condition to pass the CPA test. For me, it means couldn't pass again. But one of them was government, and it's not like anything else that you see in business. So a lot of government accounting people don't understand. So it's fund accounting. So there's a fund for water, there's a fund for sewer, there's a fund for storm drains, there's a fund for road, there's a fund for parks. So it's like 8 different businesses or more. And then there's the general fund, and anyway, you can keep making funds for special projects if you want to, and what a lot of people don't realize is we've got our water fund here, we've got our parks fund here. I hear this a lot is they say let's take all the money and just focus on water. Well, we're not allowed to. The state won't let us take out of.
It's a quick way to get the state involved in your city.
Yeah, and that's where we would get in trouble as an audit. So it sounds good, and a normal business would be, heck yeah, let's do that. But we're regulated to this form of government accounting and by the state that, but we have to run them as separate businesses.
There's not just a general fund that you can pull from. You have to. It's allocated. And you can't touch it for.
And everything has to be passed
too. And we have to budget for it too. And if it's not in the budget, we have to go to city council for a budget amendment. Mm-hmm. And so it's
which checks and balances makes sense.
Important
because otherwise,
for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to.
But I still think that there's some reevaluation that can be done.
Okay.
I
This
think
one.
the mayor answered this one.
Which one?
Shaking hands and kissing
Shaking
babies.
hands and kissing babies?
Yeah.
Aside from that, now, because I've heard from people, and again, I'm not involved to the level I probably ought to be because I'm just, sometimes we're just so busy just surviving that we don't have time. But we can't piss and moan if we're not involved as well. I mean, we can, but it's pointless. Nobody will listen to you, right? If you're not involved, you can't piss and moan.
Well, wait, I'm going to push back a little bit on that because you just said I'm not as involved as I probably should be, but life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that you don't want to be involved. You've just got different priorities.
I just haven't made it a concern of mine. And so, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm just going to say the people I've talked to, pretty much this whole summer and the past year, they want to be involved. They really do. They want to know more.
So what's stopping them?
Well, they have gymnastics.
Just life.
Till 8:30.
Families.
Yeah, homework or some project that, your kid springs on you the night before that has to get done.
No.
Right?
Never happens.
They have responsibilities. Like I have a lot of people that don't get home from work until 9. They wait for their husband to get home and then they go to work just because they can't pay for childcare.
Yeah.
So to me, to answer the question before you even ask it, how do you plan to engage with citizens while in office? Let's meet them where they're at communication-wise. To me, we record the meetings. They can either watch them live or they can watch them later. If they don't choose to watch them, then you're absolutely right. You have the options in front of you and you're not doing anything. And we're not making it.
Somebody asked, are they recorded or all city council, they're video
not
or just
video,
audio? Audio recorded?
I don't think they've done video since COVID, which was before my time.
Because someone was saying, it's hard to find. You go to the website and it's hard to find anything. And I
haven't found the recordings and I've been looking all summer, to be fair.
Okay, so it is an issue. It just
and we have local cities around us that do YouTube channels and they broadcast their, like Salem does, Woodland Hills does, and Woodland Hills is smaller than we are.
Yeah.
If they can do it, we can do it, right? Let's put it out there for the citizens to see.
Yeah, no.
But
totally.
let's also make their elected officials accessible to them. And
is there a concern that they're not? Do people feel like they can't come to you, Rob? Or
not that I've heard. Yeah, I mean.
Sorry, I didn't mean
to
cut
you're
you
totally.
off. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's a great question. I've just heard differently. Like they've emailed into the city and have never heard back. And I'm not saying this is just. Please know that I'm not accusing you of not responding because I don't feel like that's who you are, right? But meeting people where they're at communication style doesn't necessarily mean just one sort of communication. I've talked to elderly people that don't navigate technology well.
Yeah, you've got to have
the paper in their hands.
Phones,
yes.
papers,
newsletters, that
social
kind
media,
of thing.
all of it. Yeah, for all the different types of learners and
yes,
understanders.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's where we're lacking. We don't have multiple communication styles. And I know I hear it costs so much to do this or so much to do that. And it does. There is a cost associated with things. But I work in the technology world. Technology has come a long way. There's a lot of capability and there's a lot of competition to find the best pricing. So I feel like, me personally, that our communication styles are lacking, that we need to meet people where they're at, give them the say. Do you want the newsletter? Okay, let's put one in your city bill. You don't want the newsletter? You just want it in an inbox email? Okay, let's deliver that to your inbox. You want to not get anything and you want to go to the website at your own convenience? Great, let's make it easy to find.
Would that be, in order to do all those things, would it require the city hiring a part-time person or a full-time, someone to like a communications person? Would that require something like that? Or could that be done? And you said everyone wears multiple hats. What would something like that entail roughly? I mean, we don't have to get into specifics, but how would you?
I think there's a lot of people in the city who'd be willing to donate their time. We've got 2 high schools nearby with AV programs.
So internships maybe for.
We've got some really great opportunity here to really not impact the budget on a high level. I know that Tanya Willis is building a new website. There is some things at the federal level we have to make sure that website contains. I have a friend that does build government websites who's willing to donate some time for that to really go through and make sure that it looks really good. I feel like the technology that's on the market today it's going to be a lot easier than we think. I mean, you got into podcasting. Did you go to school to become a podcaster?
No, I just have a big mouth.
Yes, and you took the time to learn how to do it, right?
Just started talking to people, yeah.
Yeah.
And upgraded the equipment, but
right.
Hopefully my brain's upgraded as well.
And
since
we
I've been
can
doing this. Yeah.
do the same thing. We have this brand new city council room that's got these huge TVs in it. We have the capability. It's on the mindset, obviously, with the way that the room was designed, that let's do some videos, let's do some recording, let's get the people involved where they're most comfortable, where they're at in that moment.
So on the website, is there like a general timeline that's going to be done?
Oh, that's a great question, and I don't know.
That's okay.
That was one of my platforms. Like when I first said I was going to run for mayor because we need a new website. The website that we currently have live is in such a violation of so many laws and so many codes, and I think Tanya's doing a great job putting it together. She's rushing her little bones to get it done, which is fantastic for our citizens, and I'm super excited to see that. But it's been talked about for over a decade, right? It's been talked about on so many levels. I remember the first time when we first moved up here, and I was like, this website needs to be updated. Oh, we can't touch it. We don't want to make the person that designed it mad. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that real? Is that like a real thing? Websites are never legacy. I'm sorry to break it to you, but they're not. They're always evolving. They're always updating. And as new federal laws come out, we have to comply with them. And new state laws come out, we have to comply with them. So
government websites tend to be cumbersome, and trying to find things they may look pretty, but sometimes they're really challenging.
You're not wrong. And that's not just Elk Ridge. That's
it's
others.
It's probably because there's so many people involved.
And there's so much information you have to have on it.
And everyone has an opinion, and so it's, death by committee kind of thing. That's what I've seen.
You're not wrong. But I do want to give credit where it's due. They are working on one, and I'm excited for what we've seen at the council meetings, like what it looks like. And help me if I'm wrong, but they're kind of basing it off Springville, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a long story. We've been talking about it, probably for before I got around.
Yeah, it's
decades is probably fair. And so a couple years ago, I think we put it out to bid, and we were getting 6-figure bids back, and we're like, we don't have the budget for that. I think we budgeted $25,000 or something. Nobody would even
I know a guy.
touch it. Okay.
Technology has come a long way.
Yeah. But then we approached Springville, and he said, we said, hey, would you be okay if we patterned ours after yours? And he said, well, I'll help you. It's easy.
That's awesome.
And so he sounded like he was going to do it, and that didn't happen. So now it's in Tanya's lap, and she's pretty incredible. She's a go-getter. Yeah. Surrounded by a lot of talented people. But yeah, and I'm sure she'll get it done, and it'll be better. But yeah, it's been a long time coming and overdue. So I'd agree with that.
Okay, so in the works. So that's one of the ways to communicate with people better. Okay. Have people complained that, again, there is no transparency within the city, or it's lacking, or is that a general consensus, or just a few here and there? There's always going to be somebody that, like, I called and they never called me back, so they suck.
It's kind of a buzzword, but we're required to be transparent. We've got the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act. That's Title 52, Chapter 4 of the Utah Code, and we have to be trained on it every year. And basically what it says is it governs cities and city councils and planning commissions, but it ensures that meetings are conducted transparently and with public access. And so we have to notice all our public meetings 48 hours in advance, and then all the deliberation and conversation has to take place in that meeting. We can't have backroom meetings where we're talking or discussing or deciding. And so, yeah, every year we have to have a training on it. That's also state mandated. But that's what it aims for. The act aims to promote accountability and transparency in government decision making. I think sometimes when we're writing code or when we're working on the general plan or even the master trails plan, one or two planning commission members will get together and kind of create a draft, get the best information so they can have a starting point. But you can't have more than two or it becomes a quorum, and that becomes against the Open Meeting Act. And like I've said, most cities have city staff that'll do that for them. But here, even Planning Commission and City Council have to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things, just because we don't have the budget for that. And so yeah, could we be more transparent? I'm sure we could, but your next door neighbor is a great example. She reads minutes of every meeting, and she's probably as well versed as anybody in city government. And she'll message me every once in a while, and she won't say, "Hey, you're hiding this from me." She's like, "I read this, and here's some suggestions, or here are some thoughts." And so it's there. The minutes are there. The recordings, you can ask to listen to them. I think you have to do a public request, which is through the state, and then the state gives it to the city. So yeah, it's all there. It's all available. We're not hiding anything. Could we do a better job? I think the website is an easy yes. But we have tried through our citywide surveys to get feedback from the community, and that's what we based our general plan on, is the feedback from those.
I'm going to add on to that, because transparency to me is not just having everything in the public eye. And I do that with quotes, because requesting from the state for a recorded meeting when you could simply just put it on YouTube is a weird caveat to me. But transparency is not just having everything out in the open, but it's making it so it's accessible to you. That's transparency to me. It's easy to get, it's easy to see. So right now we have 2 council people running unopposed. They're going to win the election. In normal cases, we get to vote who our values or our beliefs align with. But when you have somebody that's running unopposed, they're going to fill a spot. So transparency to me also goes that next step further. Well, I don't really know if I align with you, but I want to be able to talk with you about it, to get your perspective, share my perspective, have an honest communication. And I know that one of the council members put his phone number out on public record. He likes to talk about that. But we live in a society where that's business, right? We don't really go to our neighbor's house in the evening to discuss business for the most part, unless it's religious based. Anything else, it's
Wait, I thought we weren't supposed to talk religion or politics.
Well, we can talk both.
Those are the best things to talk about.
I totally agree.
I'm sorry.
I think there's so much dynamic in both of them.
Oh, you learn about people when you talk about those things. So whoever said you shouldn't talk about religion, sex, money, or politics, I think was a fool.
Yes.
We just need to do it in a better way.
They didn't want to do any, they don't like conflict.
Yeah.
They like to just go through life in there. Yeah. So I feel like if we can give the option for the citizens to interact with their elected politicians a little bit easier, that's also transparency. Let's not put people out of their comfort zone too much. Going to the city office to meet with somebody is a little bit more comfortable than trying to track them down at home. So let's open up the doors and let them be able to sit down with their council people and talk with them and get a better understanding, or much less just get their opinion. Like, I don't like the way you voted. I don't like that this is what you did. Help me understand why you did it. Or something that's coming down to be voted on, make your voice known. They're your elected citizens, or elected officials. You as a citizen should have the right to share with them what your opinion is without blowing it up and having a huge, what was that meeting a couple weeks ago? 4 hours? Almost 4 hours?
We've had several of those. Yeah.
Yes. So if we had the opportunity for those voices to be heard, I think that would...
More frequently.
Yes.
Maybe that would...
I was talking with somebody today. One of my platform positions is quarterly surveys that are anonymous. People will tell you anything when they don't think it's going to come back to them. So if you want a real pulse of the people of the city, let them have total anonymity. Let them tell you the job that you're doing in a way that's not going to make them uncomfortable, because they'll be honest with you. And you're going to find that a lot of people that complain the same every time, every quarter, you're going to be able to identify that. You're not going to make them happy. Everything you do is not going to make them happy. But you're going to find that people are more engaging and more giving you what they think the city should look like. And that can really drive interaction and communication and really building that community and the trust with the city government.
Because everybody wants to be heard.
Yes.
So, Speaking of blow-ups, you mentioned blow-up. Can we jump down to
Yes.
this? Someone had said, there have been multiple community blow-ups. What would you do to have prevented previous ones and prevent future ones? And I think the one that comes to mind to me is the deer kerfuffle.
Such a nice way to put that.
And, someone put a lot of time into that. I commend their efforts for the things, the effort they put into, the things that were on my door in scrolls wrapped. Like, wow, somebody's passionate about that. But so that's just going to happen. People are passionate about things and they, but so how
great would it have been if they could have watched the council meeting when that was decided to hear all the specifics
about it
that our council did?
Because that went crazy on social.
Yes.
It was like you guys were the devil.
Yeah, and there was a lot of misconceptions, even by me. Like I was like, when I first heard about it, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Help me understand why this is okay. And then you sit down with Jared Peterson, who's over it, and he'll tell you the specifics of it. This is not them trying to annihilate the deer population. This is them protecting pets, children, and people in the city. If we put it in perspective, this is a communication thing, right? This is what I do every day. Tell me what you're feeling. I'll tell you the facts and we'll align it, right? But if we talk about what are we protecting versus what are we eliminating, we can have real conversations. But if we just let people sit and speculate and, Martha's calling Mary and Mary's calling Wendy and Wendy's calling Kevin and Kevin's calling Kyle. And then all of a sudden there's 7 different versions of the story when you could have just watched the council meeting and got what was it, Department of Natural Resources?
DNR, yeah.
You're talking about why we want to do this, why this is a good idea, why this needs to happen. To hear from the citizens that have been attacked by deer, knowing that they sometimes can't walk out their front door because of the 4-legged creature standing in their front yard waiting, and they don't know what's going to happen. And it's happened. It really has happened. To just kind of how sick they are. And I mean, Jared told me once, and I'm sorry, trigger warning, this has to do with bugs, but he watches the ticks just flow almost like water off of these deer, right? There's some health concerns there as well. So sorry, did not mean to trauma. You probably were going to say all of this, but I feel like, the citizens need to have that open communication with their elected officials. But how great would it have been if they could have just gone to the source and watched the council meeting to get the facts instead of looking at one person's perspective that gets told 7 different ways and then comes back. That's totally not the way it was originally proposed.
Facebook doesn't help either.
It's a wonderful tool.
People take it and run it. And you said the door hangers. I mean, those are full of misinformation. But yeah, things got so crazy and so heated that we called a special meeting and said, hey, let's talk deer. Let's meet in the park. Somebody called the news. I mean, it was getting so crazy that me and Jared stood there and said, let's talk about it. Let's answer questions. Let's go through this. So we tried to squash it a little bit, but yeah, we still had a big city council meeting that was back before the remodel. We had to clear out a fire bay. There were so many people. A lot of citizens came out in support, and a lot of citizens were still against it. And so, yeah, we tried to get the truth out there, and we tried to rehash everything we talked about when the DNR officer was there. And but yeah, it's still, some people said, hey, if I got emails, some people say, hey, if you want to kill the deer, I want to kill you.
Yeah, that's so beneficial.
But there's people that value animal life above humans. So I can see if that's your belief system, that's what you're thinking. And so some people are always going to be passionate and always going to be on that side of it, and reason doesn't really help, and that's their right. So yeah, it was a tough one. It wasn't a fun one, and I never ran on deer mitigation, but yeah, it's one of those things we had to deal with. And
so, do you feel like you, as a city, did all the right things as best you could, and you just can't please everybody, or was there some mistakes made?
I don't think we can always predict what the reaction's going to be.
Of course not.
I think they took a narrative and something they're passionate about, which is wildlife. I love wildlife myself, and just made assumptions and kept going into left field further and further and stirring people up. And yeah, I did the best I knew how by saying, hey, everybody, let's meet and let's talk through this.
And did they come, the people that were
at the park? Yeah.
They came, okay.
Mainly the people opposed it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least they came, I guess.
Right. Yep. But, was there a better way to handle it? Possibly. But,
hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you did, but
yeah.
You did the best you could with it, and you provided every opportunity to talk about it. Moving on from that one?
Please.
How about this one? And if there's something on here you guys want to go after, if you're like, ooh, I want to answer this one. We don't have to go through all these because we'll be here forever.
No, you're the boss.
Oh, is that what we're called?
Yep. Brian the boss.
Mm-hmm. Let's do this one. What are the 3 biggest challenges facing Elk Ridge City? Or it doesn't have to be 3. Maybe 1, 2. Let's do 1.
12.
Let's do 1 because
Let's do 1.
Let's just do 1. What's one of the biggest? What do you feel the biggest challenges for Elk Ridge?
I think our infrastructure. We have a lot of old water lines that are ductile iron that were buried too deep, weren't bedded in sand properly, and so as the pressure of the pipe goes through and the weight of being buried too deep, they're wearing out faster. We're not as bad as Salt Lake City. Some of their pipes you hear are over 100 years old and springing leaks every day. But eventually we're going to have to tackle that in the upper part of the city and put in pipe at proper depths. And also, I don't know if the water's ever been turned off at your house, but when they put in all this water, all the water main lines, they didn't put enough valves. So we literally have to turn off 2 or 3 blocks sometimes just to work on one isolated incident. Like they were replacing a fire hydrant last week or the week before.
It was last week. We were out of water for a day.
Yep. And so, blocks away, people's water has to be shut off because you have to isolate that. And so, we need new pipe and more valves so we don't have to affect so many citizens when we're working on the water line or if something breaks. So that's pretty big in my opinion. Storm drain, like Shelley mentioned, Teri, sorry.
It's okay, I get it. Teri, Shelley, and Sherry all the time.
You have 2 first names.
I do.
It just hit me.
Yep.
But we did get a $50,000 grant to do a citywide study on our storm drain, and so we're hoping that'll provide us some information and we can start making some progress there. Do you know what SWIP is? Did you ever have to deal with that with a builder?
Yes.
So it's
explain what it is for those that don't know.
So it's a stormwater protection plan, I think. Something like that. Basically, they don't want stormwater rolling off your development or your house or your whatever you're working on that's not finished into the road or the streets or the gutters. And so they want you using straw wattles and sweeping the street every day, having construction entrances in and out of your building or development site. And they're getting more and more strict over the years. And they especially look at properties that are on hillsides because they're more susceptible to erosion and all these things. So it's important that if we work on our storm drain implementation, will take care of a lot of these things. A lot of times when we have a big rainstorm, it'll undermine the edge of our roads that don't have curb and gutter. And so infrastructure, we got a lot of work to do. And then my big dream is our own sewer treatment plant. So right now we send it to Payson and they basically charge us what their rates are just to run it down the trunk line and get it treated. And so I think we could control our own destiny and be in better shape if we could find one. But That one would have to go in debt for, but
so many jokes.
Yeah, so we need a feasibility study.
Cleaning up our own.
Yeah, I got you.
Easy.
Dealing with our own.
My brain went there too. I was like, okay.
We gotta have. It's politics. We gotta have humor in it. Otherwise,
it'd be too stuffy and too boring.
So we have plenty of challenges.
Which, that's fair.
But I think all cities have challenges on some level, right? Like
there's humans involved and infrastructure that's old. And...
Yeah. I think it's even deeper than that. Because a lot of times when you propose things like, well, we have to fix this. Well, why wasn't, like I just asked, why
wasn't it done right?
Why did we do a well at the bottom of a city instead of the top and let gravity help? Flip side of that is, well, why weren't the citizens made aware of why we had to do it down there versus up there? Or why do we have to update these pipes? Why do we have to do these things? And so I think the biggest challenge is getting our citizens to buy into the city projects because they just don't know. Communication. We need it. We need to be able to open up that door and let people come in and ask the questions. And if they don't want to know, okay, don't know. And when you come to me eventually, or come to whoever the current mayor is, erring on the side of positivity, no offense, Rob, I want to be able to sit down and go, okay, so starting in 1992, this was put on the plan. This is where we had to move to. This is where it was adjusted. This is where we're at now. This is why it had to be done this way, because all of these steps were put into place, and to redo it would lose the funds for this and lose the funds from this and lose the funds from this. Communication and understanding, right?
Just letting people know all the hoops that you have to jump through, and it's not just...
Because there's a lot of things that there's a lot of things that when I put my name in the mayoral race, in the ring, no clue. I spent the last 3 months going, wow, the state really does like to tie our hands. The county really likes to tie our hands. And then we are not sharing all of that information with our citizens, except at second and fourth Tuesday at 7 p.m. if they can make it. That to me, that's the problem. That's the biggest challenge. We need to educate our citizens where they're at, let them know the ins and outs and what ifs and why nots and how comes, all of it. Give them the opportunity to understand. You don't want to take it, that's fine. Eventually you'll come ask, and we'll have all that information there cataloged for you. Go here, watch this, go there, read that sort of thing. But I was talking to somebody at one of my front porch Q&As last Friday night, and they asked, how are you going to align these citizens that have been here for 20 years that like it the way it is to the new families that are coming in that want the new ways? And they're going to be at odds the whole time. And I said, why are they going to be at odds? Because they just are. No, it's because they're not communicating. You know, we live in a dark sky city. I love the dark sky. I love looking up at the stars. I have a neighbor behind me that has lights on, Christmas lights, low wattage, like all night long, because her car was broken into and they lost some really important things to them. I have another friend that lives down in the lower, there might even be Salem, but I think there's still Elk Ridge, where she wants lights put in, city lights put in, but she also had a child hit and killed by a car. It's not that she doesn't love the stars. It's not that she doesn't want to understand that. But I said, wouldn't it be really great if you could take these two people, have them communicate and get some understanding? Because what her neighbors do is they leave their front porch lights on until 10 p.m., knowing that her kids are home safe at that point. Then they'll turn them off. And everybody that wants to go look at the scars will do it after 10 p.m. Not because they're mad that their neighbor's lights are on, because they understand that there is a different person in their community that has a different mindset than just being able to walk out when it's dark at night and look at the stars.
Every house has a story.
Yes. So let's open up communication so the stories can make us a community. So we're not dark sky people with, security lighting or the fancy lights. I know there's a name, but I'm not going to say it, or you'd probably have to pay some advertisement
Jellyfish Lighting. They are not a sponsor of this show.
Yes, they could be. No, just kidding. But there's those people that want that too. And if we created that understanding, and maybe it's just the fact that they want to have them on 3 days before a holiday and 3 days after a holiday. Or maybe because their neighbor are dark sky people, they'll just leave them on for 3 days before and 3 days after and not all year long. But you don't know until you have the conversations what compromises can be found.
You are speaking common sense.
Is
Crazy.
I know, in politics, I'm a little worried.
You both are speaking common sense. You guys are screwing up the whole system. What do we have to complain about if you're thinking common sense?
Trust me. It doesn't matter. He knows. You've been mayor for 4 years. They can complain. It doesn't matter.
You can't make everyone happy.
No, you can't.
No.
Yeah, if you were a people pleaser, you'd have a hard time as mayor.
No, it wouldn't work. Well, Rob, I'm going to go down to this one here. This is for you.
Okay.
How does your next election, assuming you win,
This one?
differ from the past one? Or maybe you just continue being amazing. I don't know.
I've never been accused of that.
What have you done that's benefited the city and your biggest regrets, if you have any?
Okay. Well, last election, I had the whole current administration, city council, planning commission, basically backing another candidate. This election, I've got, I think, all those people backing me. So it feels a little better. Not as much of an uphill battle, hopefully, but yeah, that's one difference. The things we've been able to accomplish in the last 4 years, citywide surveys didn't exist prior. Actually, a planning commission member that I appointed, Ron Gailey. He's pretty amazing. He's in marketing. He does surveys for a living, and city surveys specifically. And so I think that's been a big help, getting citizen input, and then you can slice and dice all the answers by demographics, by location, by age. And so yeah, that's been very helpful. I think we've done 2 that were similar, just on, what are your preferences.
The big survey about the park. That was one of them,
the big
right?
one about the park, yeah. What type of amenities they'd like to see. And then would they be willing to donate time or effort or skills? And then we had one on volunteerism, which, it's very helpful too. We have a lot of opportunities to volunteer. We started a beautification. Karen Trivett started a beautification committee. And they've been doing spring cleanups last couple years, and I think that's really brought the community together. I think we had 100 people show up this spring, and just uniting a common cause, and yeah, it's been really positive. We also have our Trails and Parks committee I mentioned earlier that Melanie Paxton heads, and she's grown that committee and has a lot of community support. And at our city celebration, she had a booth, and what do you like, what you don't like, had little boards up on all the parks and things. So I think we're trying to listen to the community and get input from the community. One of the big things I did, and one of the big things that drove me to run the first time, like I said, I've got an excavating background in Idaho. I took the right-of-way permit test for our company, which was pretty extensive, and it goes over work in the right of way, safety measures, type of pipe and standards, and the whole gamut. But anyway, one of my complaints here, and it was kind of the perfect storm. It seemed like all around me, I'm like, if this is happening all over the city, I don't know how people aren't coming up in arms. But so they would block off entire streets and for maybe a 2-day job, and it would be closed down for 2 weeks or more up above the roundabout, which is the general area where I live. And they would detour us through small neighborhood streets, which isn't safe. And when I reached out and said, hey, what's going on? What work are you doing here, and why is the road still closed? They said, well, we approved their development, And, part of the development is they get a hookup to city services. And so that's what they're doing. I'm like, what? You don't have right-of-way permits? And they're like, nope, we approved it. So that's part. And they just, when they get the work done, it'll be done. Like, interesting. And so another development right on my street, they trenched across the entire street to do a sewer tap on a main line, a service line. And 10-foot trench across the entire street. My son called me from work, he called me at work and said, "Hey, Dad, I can't get to work." I'm like, "Well, why not?" They dug across the entire street and told me I can't get through. Well, we only have one way in and out in our city. So I called the city. I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" "Well, their trench box works better this way, and so yeah, he'll just have to wait." I'm like, "You can't do that. What if an ambulance has to get through?" Anyway, I went the rounds, but shorten the story up, I implemented right-of-way permits, and so now the city is in charge of who works in our right-of-way and when and how they'll do it, and road closures are the last resort. So I don't know if you noticed on Elk Ridge when they were doing that work, we had flaggers. Can you imagine if we would have closed that down for a month and just let them do whatever they wanted and detoured people around the city? We've had enough detours the last couple of years. But anyway, so we control, and it's also, we also earn revenue because, we charge them to work in our right-of-way. And so that's, I think, been a lot safer and a lot more convenient for citizens. Yeah. And then I've probably gone too far, but I feel like we're more unified in leadership. We have a great public works director, Jerry Clark. He works great with the office, which hasn't been the case in the past. So I feel like we've got a better team that's more unified and pushing in the same direction instead of button heads all the time. But yeah, there's, city council, office staff, the fire, the EMT, Deputy Monson. So anyway, city works better when we work as one. And like I said, there's a ton of talent in the city and so much service that gets done behind the scenes that people just don't realize that I get to see, which is one of the greatest things that I've enjoyed being mayor the past 4 years. And then, one of the results of the surveys is parks, trails, open space. And so we've, I think I've gone over that enough, but we did get a grant to plan the Goose Nest Park. Those plans are complete. And we also have plans for the Skyhawk Park to put in pickleball courts, pavilion, restroom, which is important. We can start using that for kids' sports as well once we have a restroom there. And then, a lot of the improvements will be done if the road by there will be done. It's actually school property right now. So when the school does their thing, we can finish that off. But yeah, I think also, as I've alluded to earlier, fiscal responsibility and vision and accounting background and understanding of how government accounting works. We've had a balanced budget since before I got here, and we've kept it and actually improved our cash balances, and so yeah, there aren't many cities, big or small, that can say they have no debt and a balanced budget, and I think that's what a lot of citizens want. When I talk to citizens, a lot of people don't recognize me, and I don't really enjoy the limelight or podcasts. Is that what we're doing? But and then City Hall, modernizing the City Hall and expanding the City Council chambers, I think is huge. When we had the big deer blow up, we had to clear out a bay with the fire truck. If you guys have been in the fire bays, they're not the most conducive to a public meeting. The acoustics aren't good. It's hot. It's noisy. The lights will turn off after a while, and you have to wave your hands to get them back on. It's not a great thing. It's not a safe thing either, because if we did have a fire event or an emergency event, they'd all be rushing in and we'd have to clear out. So anyway, we've filled our new city council chambers several times this year, where we would have had to go to the fire bay, and we didn't start from scratch. It was a shell that was already there, so it was basically just cosmetics. You're in building, so so I think we spent a little over $300,000. The previous administration wanted to build a whole new building and sell park property to do it, and spend about $2.5 million. So I think we did the right thing. And
how dare you stay within budget, right?
And also we need to buy some round tables and do some other things, but there's a kitchenette, restrooms in a big area. So we'll open it up to the community that can rent it at a reasonable rate for private gatherings. If you don't want to make a mess of your house, make a mess here, but you have to clean up afterwards. But it can accommodate bigger groups.
Very well done.
So anyway, those were the few of the things.
Well, Teri, is there anything you would like to ask? We have a little candidate question, but would you want to talk to him about this one, or is there a specific? Is there a question you would like to ask each other? And you don't have to. No,
I'm totally open to that. I'll let you go first. I'm sure you have a question for me.
All right.
Just playful banter.
It's fun politics.
Politics. Yeah.
So I haven't like studied your platform or anything, but one thing that came up that I think I'd like to clarify is that you said we've got an employee that makes six figures, and you sounded like you weren't happy with that. They were the highest paid city recorder in the state.
And I said he's one of the highest. Maybe I'm pretty sure I said one of the highest, because that's on the transparency website.
You can see any public employee or elected officials, any government salary. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to do. You just Google it, and
it takes you right there.
And it pops right up. Yep.
Yeah, and my only concern with that is that you confirmed that the city office employees are tied to water funds.
So a portion of it is allocated, yeah.
My bigger concern, though, is to go in and deal with the city. I've had to take 2 days off work. I've had to take PTO because of the hours. I got told by somebody on Facebook that he wears many hats. My father-in-law actually hired him to come in and work when he was mayor.
Yeah.
I've known their family. I've taught their girls in church. They're a good family. I'm not saying they're not. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to our citizens, when you put many hats on somebody that's in an city administration, you're also compiling either the pressure to perform those hours, or the citizens of this city are not getting those hours allotted to that title. That's the problem. And I understand that we don't have 4 full-time people. We don't have the work for 4 full-time people. Okay. My concern is how do we expand office hours if we're looking at hiring somebody at the minimum rate that you guys talked about at the last council meeting at $19,000, and yet he makes what he makes? I don't know anybody that can, in this economy today, work for $19K and make it a feasible income.
That would have been a part-time position, and I'm not sure that amount is. Yeah, I'm not sure that's accurate. Mm-hmm. But we are trying to fill another position. But a city recorder, there are 2 positions the state requires every city to have. Mm-hmm. You can probably guess what one of them is.
Yes.
City recorder. Do you know what the other one is?
I would say controller.
Treasurer.
Yeah.
So, Royce works his tail off. He doesn't hardly take PTO. Like I said, these government positions are not government positions in Elk Ridge. He does an amazing job at what he does. So a city recorder's duties, let me read them to you. Number 1 is to maintain official city records and documents. Number 2, records minutes of public meetings. Number 3, issues licenses and permits. Number 4, manages elections. And number 5, prepares and verifies legal documents, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. I think that's probably, recording things. So that's a very small portion of what Royce does, and I hope he is the highest paid city recorder, because on top of that, he's also the city manager. He's also the head of the finance department that manages this crazy governmental fund accounting. He's also the head of human resources. He's the head of permitting. He assists me. He coordinates work with legal counsel, engineers, insurance. And so I could go on and on. I mean, he does a lot to hold the city together. And, so if you look at, instead of looking at what do city recorders make, you need to look at what city managers make. And if you look at Payson's city manager, just for fun, he makes about $60,000 more a year than Royce.
The city mandates that that's a full-time position. I get that. But you just said yourself that he doesn't take PTO. His workload is heavy.
He's busy. We have it in the budget to have another position. We're looking, and they kind of took a break from looking. So my first year, we lost a good employee because a neighboring city paid more, and she didn't have to deal with the public, and she got to do accounting, which is what she loves. And so we've tried to hire, we have hired 4 other people. So in the 4 years, we've gone through 4 people, and for one reason or other, it didn't work out. So we need somebody else. I admit he's carrying a big load, and we need one more person in the office.
Well, you've already said you need one more. So this is my question for you. Because you said you have the council behind you, the community council behind you. You obviously have the office administration behind you.
They have... one of the duties as a city recorder is he manages elections. So you could ask him, he's not going to tell you.
And I would never ask him.
Right.
That's his personal. I would never ask Brian who he's going to vote for, right? But at the end of the day, he gets to cast his vote.
Uh-huh.
But you did say that you have the backing versus your previous electoral experience to now. I'm in your shoes where you were, right?
Sure.
Uphill battle all the way. I have some real concerns when you itemize out his responsibilities to record the minutes, to put the legal documentation together without clear understanding what that is. You also talked about him balancing things and then being code. And that's a lot of hats. That's a lot of decision-making power in one person.
Well,
that is
I'm over Royce. So he'd be like the COO. If we were talking corporations, I'd be the CEO.
Right.
And we do have checks and balances, and we are audited, and yes, he does a lot, but
yeah, that's my concern. When you have 2 people that are agreement, you don't have a third voice in there. You don't have, and maybe you'll have 3 people agree, but really psychology dictates that if you have 3 points where you can have a discussion, you get a more well-rounded decision versus just 2 people coming to an agreement. You're over him, so he's not going to, and I know Royce, he's going to tell you if you're wrong. Like sometimes he probably has, right?
Yeah.
But my concern is that his salary or a portion of his salary is tied to our extremely high water fees.
Okay. So if you were to replace him, how much money would you save, and how would you do it?
If I was to replace him, I'm not sure that we're talking about saving money. I think we're talking about taking a workload off one person and spreading it out to maybe 4.
Well, you're talking about it being allocated to the water fund, so we're talking costs, right?
Right. We're talking costs, but if we really could itemize, like, I don't know, does he clock in? Does he put time towards each activity that he's doing? Do you guys have that system, or is he just on salary?
He's salary.
Okay. Data is going to dictate those metrics, right? I work for a company that does time tracking for construction. We put in jobs and cost codes, and some of the companies that we set up are child codes. Like, they want to know exactly how to bill to the job that they're doing. So let's take a look at where hours he's really putting in. We've doubled, if not tripled in size when he took on this job.
Yeah.
Maybe he should just be the
So on top of all the
cinematic.
hats, you want him to track his every minute of his day?
Yeah, I do, because it's technology. It's really simple. It's a 4-digit code, grabbing your job, grabbing what you're doing, and you put your phone down. It's literally like taking money out of an ATM.
And then how does that help us?
That gives us the time that he puts into that job. How much time is he actually putting into the city water fund? What does that look like,
Well,
right?
If we could allocate it different to the water fund, we could allocate it different to all the funds. At the end of the day, we're going to have the same expenses and the same revenue. One fund might be different, the other fund might be different, but the big picture is going to be zero.
Big picture is going to be zero, but the big picture is going to be that we have office hours that can be expended for our citizens. We have 2 people that are in the office with a third and possibly a fourth. We have the idea that maybe, just maybe, we need to take into consideration what is actually being put towards the job, the hats that he's wearing. Maybe we could hire somebody, 2 part-timers instead of paying a full-time wage for one person, right? 20 hours a week is a lot different than having somebody work 60 hours a week. And I've seen him there at 7 and 7, 12-hour days. That's not fair for one employee.
Yeah.
And while I did put it out there, because it is tied to water on a lot of things, and water is a big talking point in this city, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that the hats he's wearing and the time allotted to those hats makes sense to pay what we're paying. And so you're going to have to me, that's tracking what they're doing. And I know it's hard. When you say tracking, people think, oh my gosh, every time I move, they're going to know. It really isn't. Look at the deadlines. You guys both worked in construction. You know the deadlines that are there, right? If you put something in somebody's hand to complicate their work life, how many guys are you going to keep on the job? No. So there's simple technology to get this data, and it doesn't have to be a long term. Like, we don't have to do it for 4 years. We can do it for months and collect the data we need to collect. We've still got part of a fiscal year to do it. Fiscal year doesn't change until July, right?
June 30th.
June 30th,
Yeah,
right.
so we're July
we've
1st
got
or
months
June
that we can track this, and then we can really evaluate the data and decide, does this make sense now? Does this still make sense to have one person with this many hats? Does it make sense to do full-time wages for something that we're maybe only putting 15 hours a week into? Maybe we look, instead of hiring one person part-time, we can do 2 with the funds that we pull back from that. And then all of a sudden, we've got a full-time income divided into 2 people, and we've got 19 to 24,000 that you guys talked about at your last council meeting that we no longer need to use. It's data. We just need the data to understand.
Yeah. I mean, however many people you put in place, you're still going to need the city manager position to oversee them, and that's still going to be a high-dollar person.
It's absolutely correct. It is. But there's a lot of things that we can do to really evaluate if it makes sense.
Yeah. But, I mean, Royce sacrifices and probably too much. But, yeah, I mean, he lives, eats, and drinks his stuff, and he's pretty amazing, and yeah, he does a great job.
But please note, this is not me saying he's not doing a good job.
Yeah.
This is me. Does it make sense to the citizens to pay this rate to one person? To open up those doors, create the communication that we need, and to really give them access to the citizens' access to the city on the level that needs to at the rate that we're growing.
Good discussion.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll solve it today.
I don't think they'll solve it today
But
either.
that's okay. It puts it out there. I think I kind of want to wrap this up a little bit because I feel like we could go for 3 hours, but no one's going to listen after an hour.
So I said, you got
It's well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just some final thoughts from each of you about kind of the just general why you're doing it. You've already talked about it in the beginning, but maybe summarize how people can reach you, when voting is, all the details that people want to know.
That sounds great to me.
all the details people want to know.
Well, no.
The voting details.
Yeah, like tell them where to go. Let's tell everybody where to go so they can
That's
do
not
their
All
own,
right, I'm going to let you do
their own
that.
That's not a good way to end.
do your own homework and figure it out.
No, that's not fair either, right? I've already had 2 weeks last week. When's the vote again? First week in November. First Tuesday.
Still in November. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, let's do that. Just take a few minutes, Teri.
Okay.
Close us on out with your With your why.
With my why?
With your why or why nots, whatever you want to.
I'm going to share what I shared last Friday. And if I break into tears again and you saw me on Friday cry, I apologize that you have to hear it twice.
I didn't see you cry on Friday, so this will be a first for me.
So when we moved to Elk Ridge, we had just been swindled out of our home by somebody within our religious leadership. They were helping us out, and the way they helped us out was to get us right off the title. And I was angry, absolutely livid. I had shut down. I wasn't interested in, it was my family, my kids, my husband. That's it. That's all I wanted in my life because those were the people I could trust. And we moved up here. And the very first people that came to our door, we moved in with my in-laws, and I slammed the door in their face. I was like, that was the Elders Quorum president for my husband. And I slammed the door in my face and I said, such and such people want to see you. And I thought for sure they'd get the message. They didn't. They tried. And I realized really quickly that it wasn't to do the missionary work to get me back. It wasn't to make themselves feel good that they're fellowshipping somebody. It was because they actually wanted to get to know us and get to know me. And those friendships expanded into other friendships to somebody that I call, like we joke, he's my brother from another mother and another mister, and I'm his sister from another mister and another mother. We're like very similar people. And I love him as family. But he's not the only one in this community that I love on that level. And as I have walked around and talked with people, I've gotten this sense that we're losing out on the community aspect. You know, you talk about lower Elk Ridge, upper Elk Ridge, inner city Elk Ridge, ghetto. I mean, it's all out there, right? Urban Elk Ridge. I don't even know at this point, all the neighborhood labels. But I want a community again. I want to be able to sit down with somebody that doesn't walk into the brick and mortar religious building that they go to and have a conversation with them and have them open to coming to not being isolated. But I want them to feel that same level of love. And it's still within certain areas for sure. But I feel like we're missing it. It's a piece that we're missing. And we can do it on such a large community level instead of just a religious one. And that's my driving force. That and transparency. Those are my two trigger words, right? Community with transparency. With that will come trust. With trust will come involvement. With involvement will become this amazing community. And I feel like that's where we need to get to, that we've somehow lost that at some level.
To kind of maybe become less of a community and more of a place where people just live next to each other?
Yes.
I saw that happen in my hometown over the last 30 years.
Is it going to be an easy job? Oh.
No.
No offense to anybody listening, but hell no, it's not going to be easy.
One conversation at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perspective, empathy.
Okay. How do people reach you if they want to connect with you?
So right now I have a Facebook mayoral page, Teri Shelley for Elk Ridge Mayor. I post on there. I'm going to do another front porch Q&A at my home again. I'd love anybody to come. It was going to be this Friday, but family plans got thrown in, and now it's going to be revisited. It's definitely going to be before the election, but after fall break. So probably more towards the end of October. Watch that page for an advertisement. I'll share it to the Elk Ridge pages. I'd love to just meet everybody. Even if you're not going to vote for me, come ask the questions. I want to have conversations with my neighbors.
It's a lost art on many levels, really.
Yeah.
It's hard. We don't do that much anymore. So, Rob?
Yes, sir.
It's all you.
All right. No, I'm running for re-election because I think we do have a lot of momentum headed in the right direction. I think we've accomplished a lot. The first year and a half, I was doing punch list items from previous projects, but now if there are any messes out there, I've created them myself. But the punch list is smaller. But yeah, I mean, Elk Ridge is a great place to live. You know, look at the mountains out your window, and it's just, you know, great time of year. Things are cooling off, but more than the mountains and the views and everything we enjoy and the low crime rate. And, I don't think I've seen a car go past our road since we've been sitting here. It's just a quiet, peaceful place where I think, just feels different. Driving from the valley up here, it seems like it just kind of leave the junk behind and just a little refuge up here that we're pretty lucky. But yeah, I commend Teri for putting her name out there, and it takes a lot of courage, and I think we agree on way more than we disagree on.
For sure.
It's great people up here. I've heard countless stories where like, how did you end up in Elk Ridge? And they're like, we don't know. But it's just...
It's a common theme
people are just drawn here for some reason, and I don't think it's accidental. I think we're a pretty tight-knit community with, like I said, similar values, and it's great. But like I said, it's also the great people, and just seeing there's a lot more talented people out there that are helping me. Like I said, it's not a dictatorship. I don't pretend to be the best mayor in the history of the world. Like Teri said, this was never one of my ambitions. I kind of, with my background in the right of ways, that's kind of what, hey, this isn't right. I can solve that. And then I realized there's a whole lot more involved than just managing the right of way. But yeah, just like to put a shout out to the city council, Melanie Paxton, Tanya Willis, Jared Peterson, Charlie Wixom, Corey Thompson. They're all amazing, and we don't agree on everything all the time, but I've gained a lot of respect for them over the last 4 years. Planning Commission, Maureen Bushman, she's a retired school teacher, and she used to be on the fire department back in the day. She used to be around before the park was there, and when elk would just wander through town, and she puts in probably more time than anybody just trying to make the city a better place. Ron Gailey on the Planning Commission, like I said, he does the surveys. He's donated his time. He does it professionally. We've had 4 surveys. We probably should have paid him $40,000, $50,000 for those 4 surveys. He hasn't charged us anything, and I think we've abused him. So when everybody says, let's do a survey, I'm thinking, well, we might need to figure out a different avenue because I feel like we've abused him too much. But he's articulate, thoughtful, kind, all things you'd love to have in a city leader. Greg Shelton has a background also on the Planning Commission in construction. He's younger, which is rare in our city. I think where Gen X and boomers are kind of a dying breed. But he's younger, and he contributes so much. And then Lisa Graham and Danny Schultz are awesome too, and put in a lot of time and effort. Chief Seth Waite, our fire chief, I think he's served for I don't know how many years, 30.
Yeah, at least.
But he's amazing. I still wouldn't want to arm wrestle him. He's older than me, but yeah, I'm never gonna get in an argument with him. Jerry Clark, our public works director, I sleep better at night knowing he's around. They're supposed to split all the public works employees are supposed to split time between their being on call, but he's the main man. If something goes down, he's pretty much always on call, and so yeah, I appreciate him, and like I said, he works so well with everybody else too. He's really a team player, and he has a great background. He can run equipment and fix things, and like I said, I sleep better at night having her. Deputy Monson, she works for Utah County, but we have her. We're fortunate to have her. She works 40 hours a week, and then if we need outside that, we call the county, and they bring somebody up. But she's been amazing. I've gained a lot of respect for police officers since I've been working side by side with her, and just appreciate her. Karen Tribbett, I think I mentioned, she just came in and said, hey, my grandson put those reflectors on the roundabout and up the tree line boulevard thing below the roundabout. And she said it just hurts my heart to see gravel or weeds or things. And so she basically came to a city council member meeting and says, hey, let me start a beautification committee, and pretty much single-handedly took it from there and turned it into what it is today. And she also highlights, homes around the city that have beautiful yards, kind of like yours, and says, hey, look at this. And so, yeah, she's kind of the virtuous, lovely, praiseworthy, positive person out there. That she has her own, Elk Ridge is a beautiful page, and I would spend all day on that one opposed to any of our other Facebook pages. But anyway, I've gone on long enough. But yeah, I feel like my background pretty much perfectly fits the duties and things of a mayor. We don't have the luxury of having heads of all these different departments, so I kind of have to know how they all work. So from an accounting standpoint, from a public works standpoint, from talking with attorneys, I've done that my whole career. Talking with engineers, dealt with that my whole career. Know how to read plans. Yeah, I just, like I said, never planned on it, but I feel like my background kind of has perfectly prepared me for it. But I'll stop now. Thank you.
So how do people reach you if they wanted to connect with you?
My cell number is 208-573-3135.
Okay.
And then you can reach me, email mayor@elkridge.org.
Okay.
Well, now I feel like I should throw down my cell phone, but I won't.
You can throw down whatever you like. But all right, so last question. However this turns out, if one of you wins, will the other join city council so you can work together? Because I think I like hearing you. I think you both have really good ideas. If they could be combined, I think that would be really amazing from what I can see.
I'm not opposed to supporting Elk Ridge. I love it. And I'm not running against Rob because it's Rob Haddock. I have somebody, it's not that.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah, no, it's not that at all. And so, yeah, I could see myself, more politics. I could see myself doing something along those lines. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming and look, we kept it civil, and
of course we're going to keep it civil.
We're all
from
civil.
Elk Ridge.
It's a weird world, and and I know about a year, right before the last election, I wanted to have these two guys on, one who hated Trump and one who loved him, and I could not get that to happen, and because the polarization was just too much. I'm like, we're not going to fight. Just come and tell me
your perspective,
why you like it, why you don't, and it's hard. This is harder nowadays.
Communication is hard on opposing views. It really is. You have to bring that empathy into the conversation.
Yeah, and we trying to understand each other versus trying to win or sell somebody on some idea.
Or trying to ridicule and diminish and demean.
Yeah, that's why my show hasn't grown that much, because I'm not controversial. So my podcast has been
we could have really helped him out, Rob.
Oh, it's gonna blow up.
Well, and if Jenny was here, she could have filmed you guys, battling out in the office.
Yeah, because we were such battlers.
That's right. Well, thank you both again for coming. We'll get this out, and hopefully good luck to both of you.
Thank you again for listening to The Parish the Thought Show. We know you have many podcast options and appreciate that you have chosen us. If you love what you hear, please give us a rating on whatever platform you find us. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. If you hate what you hear, only tell us. You're still here? Click on the next episode for more from The Parish the Thought Show.